Okay, here we go. So today we are starting multi-step equations, okay, which is where we're going to be combining the solving that we've been doing along with when we simplified. Okay, so first we distribute if it's needed, then you combine like terms if it's needed. And remember, like terms are problems like, are terms like 2x and negative 3x. Those are like terms because they share the same variable. Not 4. 4 is not a like term because it does not have the x. And then we solve and check. So here we go. Let's work a couple of examples. Okay, so again, we are going to simplify each half. We're going to draw our barrier, our equation wall, and we're going to simplify the half on this side and then see if there's anything on this side. But for today, there's not going to be anything on this side, and tomorrow, I think. So I'm going to box my like terms. So I have 2x and negative 8x. I have to follow my integer rules. So remember, follow integer rules. So these are doing battle. The negatives are winning. Battle, I subtract. The negatives are winning. So this is going to be a negative 6x. And I bring down the rest. Plus 1 equals 49. And now this looks just like the problems we've been solving. So I'm going to get the x by itself, subtract 1 from both sides because I'm undoing the addition. To undo that addition, I do the inverse, which is subtraction. This equals 0. Bring down the negative 6x, so I have negative 6x equals, and yes, you have to show this step. In grading quick checks, several of you are forgetting to show some steps. You have to show that step. So I end up with negative 6x equals 48. Divide by negative 6 because I'm multiplying by negative 6. It's the negative 6 and the x are connected by multiplication, so I undo it by division. Negative 6 divided by negative 6 equals 1. And I have x equals 48 divided by negative 6 is a negative 8. And if I were checking this, we now take and plug it back into the original problem. So we're going to have 2 times negative 8 minus 8 times negative 8 plus 1. And I want to see if it equals 49. Multiply here. So I'm going to end up with a negative 16 plus 64 plus 1. So that's going to give me, I'm going to add versus, because they're the same sign, it's all addition. So I can do it in whatever order I would like. So I have negative 16 plus 65. So now that means because these are doing battle, I have to actually subtract. So I'm going to do 65 minus 16. Got to borrow. So that's 9, 4. Yep. We end up with 49. It's the same. So this is a true statement. So this is the correct answer. Okay, now moving along. We end up with, oh, the variables, it's on the other side of the equal sign now. So I draw my barrier and I'm going to combine my like terms. Now when I'm looking at this, I have two sets of like terms. I have the W terms and then I also have the constants. And remember, the constants are the numbers without letters. It's where it's the digit by itself. So I'm going to simplify the two. So I'm going to have 19 equals, and I have 10 minus 7. That's going to give me 3. Negative 5 plus 9. They're doing battle. The positives are winning, so I have subtract. So I'm actually doing 9 minus 5, which gives me a positive 4W. And now we go on and we solve. So I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides because that's a positive 3 and I want this to equal 0. So I end up with 16 equals 4W. And now I divide by 4. because it's multiplying by 4. So we have to do the inverse operation. So I end up with 4 equals W. And now you can go back and check. And when we're checking, you again plug it back into the original. So I'm going to have 10, just because of space purposes, I'm going to have 10 minus 5 times 4 plus 9 times 4 minus 7. So I'm going to do this. So I'm going to have 10 minus 20 plus 36 minus 7. So I'm going to do these two, do those two. So I end up with, oh, we'll go through and do this like we're supposed to. So that's going to give me negative 110. Negative 10 plus 36 minus 7. At this, that's going to give me a positive 26 minus 7, which gives me 19. They're the same, so therefore this is my correct answer. Okay, now notice none of these we've had to distribute. Now we are. So we're going to pull in, we're going to have to distribute here. So I'm going to do 7 times x, that gives me 7x. 7 times, remember, this is a negative 6. So if it helps, change this to where you think of it as 7, open parentheses, x plus negative 6 equals negative 14. And then do your distributing. So I'm going to have a plus a negative 42 equals negative 14. And now we solve. Equation wall, that's a negative 14. How do I get from negative 14 back to 0? I'm going to add, not 14, 42. Negative 42. Must be thinking about that 14. Okay, so I'm going to add 42 to both sides. This ends up equaling 0. We bring down the 7x, so I have 7x equals, and yes, guys, you have to show all of these steps. Some of you are forgetting to do that. This is a negative, this is a positive, so therefore we're doing battle, so I have to actually do 42 minus 14. The positives win, so I'm going to write a little positive. That can help sometimes. 3, 12, so 12. That's 8, 28, so I end up with 7x equals 28. Seven times x, so I'm going to divide by 7, and x equals 4. And moving right along, because the best way to do this is just with practice problems. Okay. Looking at number 9. This is where we're going to combine the distributive property and combining like terms in one problem. So first, remember first we distribute. So I'm going to change, I think it helpful to go through and change any minuses to plus a negative, because it makes sure I remember the sign of that number. So I'm doing 5 times y, so I'm going to go ahead and write that 5 times y plus 5 times negative 2, and we bring down the rest, plus negative 7y equals negative 32. And now some of you may not need this step, and you may be able to go straight to saying 5y plus negative 10 plus negative 7y equals negative 32. So you may be able to go straight from here to here, and that's fine. Okay, so next we now combine our like terms. So we have the 5y and the negative 7y. They're different signs, so therefore it's battle. The negatives win. So this is a negative 2y plus negative 10 equals negative 32. And now we add 10 because I want to make it equal 0. My equation wall. Add 10. That equals 0. Bring this down. So I now have negative 2y equals. They're doing battle. The negatives win. So I'm going to go ahead and write the negative down. And this is going to be 22. And now I continue to solve. It's -2 times y, so I'm going to end up with dividing by -2 to cancel that multiplication, and I get y equals 11. Lots of steps here. You have to show. The only step that you really don't have to show is this one right here, but everything else you have to show. You have to show how you're moving it from one side to the other. All right, one more example. We're going to jump down to the bottom. Okay. The reason I'm choosing this one, okay, is because, ooh, it's kind of glary. Let it get adjusted here. You need to zoom in a little bit more. It'll be helpful. Okay. When we're looking at this, yes, I have to distribute the 6. But we also need to remember this is another reason why I like to go through and change the minuses to plus a negative, because this right here is understood to have a 1 in front of it, which means this is going to become plus -1 times the 2x plus 1. And this is going to be plus negative. Therefore, you don't mess up on your signs, because that's what I'm seeing is messing some of you up. So be careful with that. So now when I'm going to distribute, I'm going to distribute for both at the same time. So I'm going to do 6 times 8 plus 6 times -3x plus -1 times 2x plus -1 times 1 equals 107. And now I'm going to actually do the multiplication. So 6 times 8, that's 48 plus -18x plus -2x plus -1 equals 107. And now I combine my like terms. So I'm going to box my variable terms, and I'm going to circle my constants. Okay, so I like to write my variable terms first. You don't have to, but I like to. These are the same. They're both negative, so they're doing teamwork. So that means I'm going to add them. So I end up with a -20x. The 48 and the -1, they're doing battle. So I'm actually subtracting, and the positives win. So I end up with a plus 47 equals 107. And now we're back to solving like the problems we've been doing. So equation wall, I'm adding 47. So I'm going to subtract 47, and I show that work. This zeroes out. We bring this down, and I get -20x equals 60. This looked like an ugly problem at first. It's really turning out to be nice. So continue my equation wall. It's -20 times x, so I'm going to divide by -20 to both sides, and we get x equals -3 as my final answer. Okay, with these, you're going to go through, your assignment for today is to go through and finish these problems and check them as well on the notes. So you're just focusing on the notes page, finishing the problems and checking them. Have a great day.